Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Raising Excellence, the most valuable 90 minutes of your day. Today's show is Are you a tool or do you use your tools? But before we get to that, and also I'm Michael. Hey, how's it going? Before we do that,
Hi, Michael.
let's meet our let's meet our
What's your
fabulous
title,
co-host.
Michael? Do you have a special thing that you do in life that you want to help people with? Or are you just like the MC for the show?
I am a opportunity ambassador. That's what I try and call myself.
You
No,
try. Oh. But what do you
yeah,
really call yourself? Just joking.
just Michael. With that said, let's meet our other fabulous co-host, Agnieszka, our psychosomatic illuminator,
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Willow, our trauma consultant,
Hi, everyone.
and Dennis, our freedom facilitator.
Let's that love beautiful people, tool using people.
And so we delve back into the system check, superpowers on world where we're talking about all kinds of things about rewiring your brain and reprogramming your brain for your betterment. But
You
I
know,
guess, go
you
ahead.
are so much more than a community ambassador, whatever you called yourself that. This week has been so great. I love these tools. I've been using them. My husband's using them. And I just think this is so awesome. And last Monday when I was at this show, I was just taking notes like crazy because your content is so amazing. And then you're like, yeah, I'm just Mike. But you're not just Mike. You're this amazing individual who actually put the show
Oh,
together, the whole week together, and you have created these tools for us to use to make our life better. So thank you.
my
Appreciate
pleasure.
that.
And thank you
Mighty
for
Mike.
saying so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to start off. Let's see, can I share my screen? Oh, yeah. Let me hook me up so I can share my screen.
Do that. And Heather, in the meantime, says that she loves the title of this episode. So it's good to have fans who love us and love our creative endeavors.
Hi, Heather. It's good. I'm so happy you're here. It's been
Hello.
nice to see your name every single evening.
Hi there. Yes.
Yes.
Is it, should we put on our masks? Is it safe to share the screen without?
This is a mask-free zone. Your freedoms are still intact here.
I'm still unable to share my screen. So what's going on
Willow,
here?
can you give him permission? Under share screen, there is advanced settings. Please hold on, everybody. We will figure out the screen sharing in a minute, and then we'll go back to who is a tool and who's not a tool. We're going to take names, we're going to count your blessings, and then I'm going to spit it back out telling you how to use your tools.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I kind of have to correct myself on something I said on the last show about being different because there's actually something more to that. But I'm hoping that there we go. Yeah, here we go.
Did it
Yeah.
work?
All right.
Okay.
So we were talking about uniqueness, and this is kind of the vision, is that we need to get people to understand that their uniqueness is incredibly valuable, but it's not just being unique; it is also being valuable, and so it's a combination of unique and valuable. But I made the statement: if you can't be first, be different, be memorably different, and that really doesn't match the value proposition. And so let me go to this next one here. And this is a scale. You got differentiation on the left hand side and value on the bottom. Can everybody see the
I
scale
see them.
without any problems?
Yeah.
But if you're not different and you're not valuable, that's a no-go zone. And if you're different and not valuable, that's really not. I mean, it's certainly something, but but it's
It's called
not.
eccentric.
Yeah, there you
Eccentric.
go. And then the other side is if you're valuable but not different, you're really not making a whole lot of money because everybody else is also kind of that. it leads to a lot of competition and not a whole lot of money. But when you're different and valuable, that's where the gold is. And so that's what I'm after as far as the vision goes. And that's kind of what the questions are about and what your strengths are about and how you use your tools are about, is really getting to that gold, getting to the gold, and the gold that we all have. And so I guess I'll start asking my co-host a few questions about the questions that I posed. So let's talk about some of the strengths and uniqueness of each of my co-hosts. So we had a question posed: what was easy for you? So what is easy for you? Let's just go around the room.
Being on stage is easy for me. Like public speaking or standing up or telling a story or entertaining a group of people with whatever silliness.
Awesome. That's an incredibly valuable thing to have, is that ability to express yourself and communicate. Incredibly valuable. How about you, Dennis or Willow?
Working. Go on. Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Willow. Sorry.
Go, Will.
Okay, all right, I'll go. I had empathy and reading between the lines. I also, as I was writing those down, I thought of another one. I'm really good at seeing a person I'm just really good at like making them feel seen and heard. So maybe I don't actually see them or hear them fully, but I can make them feel seen and heard from what they, our conversations, and it creates a trust.
Nice.
Pretty easy to talk to. So
That's very valuable. How about you, Dennis?
What's easy for me to work out, to train. That's something that comes, easily to me. I guess to have a sense of humor, which doesn't necessarily match everybody else's sense, but like I enjoy, like I often, make jokes that I don't speak out loud, but like, that comes easy to me in a way. And also to work with children. Like I enjoy teaching and I enjoy working with children and youth especially.
Wow, you guys have hit it out of the park here with these things already, because just in knowing those things, I mean, look at all the value we just brought attention to. That, like if we could combine all those, just the four of us, man, we've just got tons of ability already. And the fact that now we've got a bunch of people that know about those things, you see how this is becoming valuable.
Wait, what about you? What's the thing that comes easily to you?
Ah, man, honestly, that's a good question, because I wasn't prepared to
you
answer.
didn't do the homework.
Honestly, I guess I would say is just like my passion for the things that I'm excited about. Like the idea of anarchy or voluntarism. That idea of bringing that message to people is something that really comes easy for me. So like living where I am, that's kind of what I do every day. And so like bringing my passion is extremely easy for me. But let's go on to a couple of these other questions. So what about what do you do that really amazes people, whether it be negative or positive in their eyes? What are the things that you do that amaze other people?
Okay, I guess I can go first. So I do this thing sometimes where I'm talking to somebody and they have a specific perspective on an idea, right? And with like maybe 30 seconds, I can shift that perspective and sort of reorient them. So now they're looking at the problem from like a completely opposite angle. And that usually amazes people. They're like, wow, I never looked at it that way. Like I hear that a lot during sessions with clients and stuff.
So changing people's perspective to really root out that valuable stuff, right?
Yeah, it's as
Awesome.
if reality was like a prism with all the, like all the angles. It's just turning it and looking at it from the other side.
Nice. All right, Willa, how about you?
I had something different in mind, but Agnieszka pulled something different out of me, actually, with her comments. I have numerous clients who have said that I have this talent for, they will contact me and they will be upset about a certain thing. And I'll say, yes, that's very upsetting. Maybe they shouldn't have done that. And then by the end of the conversation, we're talking about, maybe you shouldn't have done that. How do you feel about that? It takes you back to the, okay, yeah, they may have done something wrong. How did that make you feel? Now, what did you do wrong? Because you could have navigated this situation. It's a safe way. I help people find a safe way to take self responsibility for the negative actions that they take, because we're all embarrassed about them and we all feel a certain amount of shame. And I kind of take that shame away.
Sweet. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, Dennis, how about you?
People sometimes are impressed like with the capoeira skills, which more like a physical thing. But then some people
You mean
also
the
would have
fact that
expressed
you can fly?
It is pretty
Spread
amazing,
those.
man.
Yeah, I would say people are sometimes impressed with the fact that you can fly.
Before everything comes back down. And then some people they value when I work with their children, what it does to them, that it's beyond just like a physical workout, but they recognize eventually that it impacts them like on a whole different level that they would have not expected before. And sometimes they're not sometimes the people like they're like they're frightened by it a little bit, but like I guess my sense of independence or freedom and my lack of fear of expressing it to others is something that some people the few that are there that can actually appreciate it and that feel empowered by that. So that's nice as well. And I guess like Agnieszka, you said perspective, and I think like also like some people can appreciate a perspective that is away from, I guess, the common mainstream way of thinking and looking at things. So yeah.
All right, so I'm prepared for this one. Thinking back, I think one of the things that, and this is a little bit of a story here, but I had the opportunity to represent my company that was kind of involved with another like Fortune 100 company, and we had a big problem, and so they kind of sent me down as the offering, to get my head cut off, and I listened to their whole executive staff, talk shit about our company for about an hour and a half, and with the understanding that they were probably going to fire us at the end of this meeting, but I actually completely turned it around and just absolutely, to their total astonishment, was able to explain why they should continue to do business with us. So those kind of things are kind of like my little forte, but it is kind of being able to kind of create something in my mind. I guess it's kind of a mindset that like looks for those little details that can be the things that change people's minds, and more than likely, hopefully something that's useful or valuable. How about fearless? Is there things that you do fearlessly?
Yeah, I would say, well, the more up there answer would be when I'm centered in my true self, then I'm beyond anyone who could have fear of anything. So that would be, like that would be a state that I can find myself in, where I can say, there's nothing that really can put fear in me at all. And then like on a more grounded level, it would be when I'm helping. So that's that I noticed, like I did things that maybe not everybody else would have done, but I did them, and I was facing a lot of adversity or even danger at times, because like I had a higher cause, and I wanted to help others. So that made me overcome any fear in that moment.
How about you, Agnieszka?
So my first reaction was like, well, I'm always fearless. But then there's this whole other layer. Right? So my persona is fearless in every way, in every situation. But there is this inner self that's afraid of the stupidest stuff, like doing better, trying harder at work, creating more opportunities for myself, taking charge of more people and more opportunities, more resources, you know what I mean? Making a larger footprint of myself for myself in the world. Those are the things that really scare me. And so kind of playing it small and you know what I mean? Being a little nomad kind of makes me feel better about myself. Maybe
So let
not.
me, so
Maybe just coddles
let, let,
me.
let me make sure I got understanding here. So what you're doing, that you pretty much operate fearlessly most of the time,
Uh-huh.
is but then there's those things that come along.
But then I
But
play it small.
yeah, hmm, interesting. How about you, Willa?
So I believe the exact way it was phrased the last episode was, at what times do you find yourself being fearless?
Okay.
And the one that stands out comes a little bit of a story. I have a slight fear of like big dogs that are barking at you and are acting aggressive. I don't have a fear of big dogs, but I don't like them acting aggressive. And I used to walk by this fence all the time, and this dog would like jump almost over the fence, and it would scare the crap out of me. Like I would want to leave the other side of the fence. And one day I was walking two young little girls to go pick up, I was just walking with children, and of course I had forgotten about this dog, and all of a sudden it did it again. It like jumped at the fence, and the fence like shifted, and I was certain that this dog was going to come through this fence. He was going to attack me, and he was going to attack these little girls. And the first thing I did was just shoved both of them behind me and just stood in front of it. I was just like, I'm going to punch this dog in the face. I'm scared to death. I'm about to piss my pants, but I'm going to punch this dog in the face. And that was my first realization that when there are children involved, there is no room to second guess myself or have fear, because I am the adult and I am the responsible one there. I don't know. It's always been a very empowering feeling. I was really happy to have that reaction. I was like, yes, I'm an adult.
Nice. Honestly,
Congratulations.
I got a story kind of similar to that. Where I lived when I was a kid, probably like middle school, we had like two bus stops within the area that kids could get on the bus. And one bus, it would take like 10 minutes to get to school, and the other bus would take like 30 minutes to get to school. And so, the thing is the one that took 10 minutes was past this guy's house, that he had these two Dobermans, and he would just let these two Dobermans go, running around. And of course, nobody would, none of the kids would try that route. But the thing is that, the one that took 30 minutes would come earlier than the one that would only take 10 minutes. And of course I would be late. And so I would have to take that one. And of course, here comes these two Dobermans, like just charging for me. And I just, I did that same thing. I just like growled at them, and and essentially it startled them, and whoa. But yeah, I know that feeling. Awesome. But I would say, just for me, fearless is kind of like being honest in a kind of a difficult situation. A lot of times, and again, back to my corporate experience, there was a lot of times that, like people would basically, hey, well, don't tell the client this, and I would be like, hell with it, I'm telling them. and that usually worked to my benefit, so that was a good thing. All right, we're going to catch another one, and then we're going to have a little bit of a breakout session here. So what makes you willing to sacrifice time and effort? So like the things that are really kind of fun to you, but it doesn't really matter what it takes, you're willing to do it. Dennis, you want to go first?
Like something I would have observed is that once it's for a higher cause, that really, that really makes a difference for me. If it's just for, I don't know, making a quick buck, or those things are not really, they don't motivate me a lot. But once I can see there's like, wow, there's, I don't know, you can build a house that provides not only shelter but also energy, food, and treats your water, and you can make it from tires and recycle plastic bottles, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is, if everybody had something like that, it would change everything in life, and you couldn't be, made to work for 40 years in a slavery job, and like, wow, like, this is amazing. Or it's like, oh, just teach capoeira for some money in a gym to some IT high society people, like, whatever. But like, wow, you could transform like a couple of children's life with that, and they might see something they didn't see before, and it might change their entire perspective on the world. Like, wow, that's motivates me. So it's really a higher cause. If I can see that into something, then this is something that will motivate me to go beyond whatever limitations there would have been before.
Awesome. How about you, Agnieszka?
I think that if it's something that I'm currently curious about, so I'm always curious about things that are medical, like herbs and solutions and different things. Like, if I see something on the internet that says how to recognize 17 different types of rashes, I'll be like, yeah, I want to know. That could come in handy in the future.
Nice.
So I'm always hungry for information like that. But other than that, I think it's whatever I'm researching at the moment, right? So like right now I'm researching for my book how to eliminate chemicals from your household. So just the impact of chemicals on, like, not chemicals, because everything is a chemical, but I'm talking about like caustic chemicals, things that are in usual cleaners and things like that I don't use around my house. So how you can live more healthy lives without using these kind of things and still have antibacterial powers,
Sweet. Yeah, that's great.
It's not
What
what
you
you were
will?
expecting, is it?
No.
I'm so glad you asked this question, because it took me on a line of thinking that I could probably turn into a whole new show. But my answer is things that make me feel alive. And I'll try to make this as short as possible. That used to be drugs, and not just like, there's a lot of different kinds of drugs. I mean, like uh, pills and self-medicating, alcohol, sex, just bad decisions all around. Staying up way too late, partying way too hard. Those all made me feel alive. And once I figured out that that was a symptom of trauma, that normal people don't need those things to feel alive, it shifted, and those things stopped working for me, which scared the crap out of me, because none of my coping mechanisms worked anymore. And I had to find new ones. And I had to find ones that not only made me feel alive, like actually feel alive, which was something I hadn't felt in a very long time, but actually helped keep me alive in the long term.
Yeah.
So it transferred to like enjoying things like jujitsu and working out and eating better, and absorbing so much information about trauma that would usually throw people for a loop. Just knowing this stuff, um, it's been worth it. I would sacrifice, I would spend any amount of time to progress that part of like this version of feeling alive. This, I don't know. Hope that answered that.
I got that song in my head now. Thanks.
Which one?
Feeling alive.
Oh, all I can hear is the staying alive, and then I hear the ha ha.
Yeah, that one. That's what I was
as,
on about.
as a matter of fact, when I was doing the like my little kind of mental game, combing his hair, oh no, I can't do it.
Is it a hair problem?
I do actually have a song associated with that strength too.
Which is?
It was it's a Flyleaf song. I think it's I don't think it's new. Maybe it's new. I can't remember the name of it. I just know the first line of the song is, "So you're tired, but you're alive." And I've always loved that. I think it's New Horizons, or it's not Fully Alive. I'm just thinking it says alive. I think it's New Horizons by Flyleaf.
Maybe our audience can help us out with that one. We'll see.
Actually, my friend Nicole is listening, and I guarantee you she's pulling up the song and about to text me and be
Okay.
like, "This is it."
All right, great. We'll know it soon.
Tell her to text the show chat so we can all see it.
All right, so let's see. What was the question again? I've totally spaced it. Oh, as far as like what makes me do time and effort, it's my love of learning and then helping other people. I love that feeling when the light bulb goes off in somebody else's head, and it's like, oh yeah, you can do it like that. That to me is just like the golden moment. It's the holy grail for me.
So hang on, we were going to talk about tools today. Is this a tool that I can use for my own self-excellence?
Well, these
Is
are
self
actually all, yeah, these are all tools that we're just talking about. And so, my inclination here is to share my screen for a second.
It's always your inclination.
Let's see, did I get, I probably, so the thing that I want to get across here, and we can discuss this if you want, but it is your behavior drives your results. And so kind of creating the circumstance that, just the things that we talked about, incorporating those things into your behavior can really kind of juice up your daily, your daily mindset as far as approaching this stuff. When you start to like look at yourself as being that fearless person, or being that person that delivers all these valuable things, and you have that opportunity to visit those things, on a regular basis, you really start to incorporate these things into your daily practices, and into the things that you do on a daily basis.
So
Does anybody have any?
can you explain step by step how the daily practice would fit into this? Like, I mean, we talked about it a little bit on Monday, the daily practice, the superpowers, how we turn on the magical 10 minutes. But how would these tools fit into that morning routine?
Well, it is like, I would say, like, like if you were a carpenter and you had your tool belt on and you got your hammer and your pouch of nails, or whatever your measuring, your tape measure, your square, all that kind of stuff. You're going to approach your job. Those are absolutely, without those tools, you're not going to be able to be the master carpenter. So like a master carpenter needs his tools, and that's kind of the thing that I'm introducing to everybody, the audience, and you guys, is that these kind of tools are really kind of essential to your craft. you know and I just want to make this point in regard to like behavior and stuff, is this little graph here. Now, it's not to scale or anything like that, but these are just kind of general ideas. And the thing is that like we have a memory, our conscious memory is one that is kind of fleeting. So like at the moment that something comes up and you say, oh yeah, that's something that's really, that's really important that I need to remember. But then as time goes on, all these other things kind of hit, and before long, it's like way back in your subconscious mind somewhere, and it's out of the picture for the most part. But on the other side is results, and results don't come immediately. Results are things like if I was going to learn a language, or if I was going to start an exercise program, you know dang well that like the first day when you practice, not really much changes. And it might be a month before things really actually start to change and you start to notice yourself. I mean, there are things that you might feel better about, but the things that you're really looking for are a long-term thing. And so this is kind of the basis for like why we need to have like daily habits and daily rituals, and a practice, is because of this very thing. we need to know when we have something that's important, we need to kind of create a reminder for ourselves that says, yeah, this is really important to me, but okay, I got to insert it into my daily practice to like then get it to deliver those results that are long terms. So like going back to this other thing, your behavior drives your results. That's why this is important. Did that answer your question, Agnieszka?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so with all that in mind, and with all these things that we just discussed, what could we do? Let's just say we decided to create a minute in your day, in your daily day, that had those types of things. You got a question?
1 minute.
Yeah, just 1 minute.
Okay. So like
So
turn on the
one
timer
minute
and
that could remind you of these skills that we just discussed.
So how would we design that minute so it could remind us in the best possible way of those things?
so seeing as I'm trained in neurolinguistic programming, the
Yes.
first thing I would do is I would create myself a physical reminder. So I just looked in my little box of rocks and I found this little sparkly rock. And I thought, well, if I had a rock that represented success, it'd probably be sparkly like this one, right?
Oh, nice.
So I grabbed it, right? And I thought, okay, so this will be my success reminder to do the daily thing, right? Or to remind myself of my strengths. And then essentially what the neurolinguistic programming would do is that every time I feel the rough texture of this, because it's like a metallic rock, right? The rough texture of this rock, I'm going to do the exercise every morning. And so after a while, my brain will trigger so that as soon as I touch this rock, it's going to remind me of my values, my strengths, everything that I've done, right? So that's how I would create a thing that would remind me of these things. But then it has to be used every day for it to be supercharged. Well, for your brain to be supercharged, really. So that every time you touch the rock, it goes instantly to that space.
Yeah, what you've described there is what some might call an anchor. It's something that once you've put it into play, it anchors in that thought or that process. Willa, what did you have there?
I have a bowl of rocks.
Wonderful. All kinds of stuff. So are those rocks do they have special meanings? Do each one of them have special meanings?
They do. Like I got the rose quartz. It's supposed to promote self-care and self-love.
It's a powerful heart
amethyst
chakra rock.
Yeah. I
rose
also have a
quartz.
couple of greens. I have a malachite. This is the amethyst. I have a malachite, and I just recently found out that's also for opening the heart chakra.
Yep.
When
green.
I first, when I want to deal with memories that I have repressed, and I'm like, I like want to engage in them, I'll pull out this rock because I was told that it promotes the exploration of your negative shadow self and just bad things that you have like pushed away. So yeah, there's a different like ritual, and actually I have a quartz necklace that is
Whoa.
like just all the different quartz, so I can have like a different kind of like a what's it called, a mala. Yeah, I also have a mala, which is a like black obsidian beads, and it has even more beads than this thing has, so I can do it's more like a rosary kind of like prayer ritual. But actually that leads me into what I was going to do. I'm really big into poetry. I don't really like to share a bunch of poetry because I'm like one of those like I really love poetry, but I don't want to. It's my poetry kind of thing. But I can create like little mantras and stuff that can be shared to other people that I don't feel bad or insecure about whispering or saying under my breath or even saying out loud if I need to. And that really helps because you can fit quite a few very important statements that need to be revisited and refreshed every single day. Yeah, that's how I would do it, is write like a little poem mantra kind of thing, and maybe even use one of my rocks and be like, okay, this is when I'm gonna say it, or I pick up a different rock for each different like strength or weak, whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. How about you, Dennis? Any
Mm,
comments on that?
I'd probably, yeah, I thought all of those were great. And what came to my mind first was like to use all the senses that we really have to create an experience that brings about, that comes as close as possible to that kind of feeling and that kind of vibe that I would want to resonate on, to create that minute. But I figure out it would have to be probably a couple of minutes, and then I could kind of reduce it. So I thought, oh, what if I put the right music on, and you know have myself imagining the things that I wanted to anchor, and be in the right environment, maybe put up the right picture, or have look at a book or look at a picture, or I don't know, have a specific taste in my mouth that I love, and like surround myself with all those things that stimulate the kind of vibe, the kind of energy that I want to feel. And even if that takes some preparation, but then over time kind of reduce it, so it can be done in 1 minute, and it's not dependent on the picture being there. And so it eventually becomes
Right.
something just like it
So
message,
hang
or
on.
just pick up
So your
the stone and you have it.
spreadsheet, like where you have your strengths, is going to have your mantra and a song and a food and a thought and a taste and the blanket, and what else are you going to put in your strength? So each strength you can have a different blanket for it too. I don't know. How are you going to, cuz that'd be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
think.
about
Go ahead. Go
to
ahead.
bring it down to 1 minute, right? So it's like, so I understood it in a way like, how can I in 1 minute bring that energy into my
Into
being,
reality.
So
That's
I
cool.
figure like,
I'm
if I
kind
have
of
like
making
a
fun of you, but at the same time, I'm a little bit like, wow, that is really possible to do. Like, you could really do that. You could put like this giant, like, say, top 10 skills. You go to the VIA strength test, right? And then check your top 10 skills, right? And then every day when you need a specific skill, you can have all these little attachments to that skill to play for yourself. I could have a scarf that represents each strength.
Yeah. Yeah, and those things could, like, so, like, as those things become like your toolbox, and as you're going through your day, like in my circumstance, how I described the super or the systems check superpowers on, like, I'm kind of choosing the tools that I'm going to use for the day. Those could be like your scarf. They could be putting that rock in your pocket for the day. Those kind of things could, that's what we're trying to do, is kind of create that circumstance that, like, those things are available to you, and it's just reinforcing, that powerful person that you are in the, with those things.
I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. Agnieszka actually turned me on to this tactic using it was a medallion, and I used it for the tapping exercise because it's like a metal medallion about this thick, and I tie it to where it sits right above whatever that spot is that we're supposed to tap. I don't even know what it's called, but I know when you tap it, it calms you down. And so I take that medallion and I just tap on it to calm myself down. But it was kind of like whenever I knew I needed that and I knew that I was going to be very anxious that day, I would wear that necklace because it was just something that I could do. And I also have this one. A friend made it for me. It's supposed to be a stone for inner alchemy because it actually is two different stones mixed together. And whenever I'm dealing with like two very opposite kind of people and I'm kind of having to play both sides and I don't really know how I'm going to fit in this but also maintain my uniqueness, because that's really important to me, is not shifting to one side or the other and just pretending to be, but like staying here and being like, oh, I see your side and I see your side. So I'll wear this one. And actually the string, my friend, our old roommate, braided it with the intention of it being black and brown because they're two opposing colors in my mind. I was always told that you don't wear black and brown together. They don't look good. Now, as an adult, I'm like, they look amazing together. Why would I never wear them together? So I had a necklace that's braided inside it, like all of it is like mix matched. It's a blending of both the colors to kind of remind me of that. And I didn't know that that was what I was doing until we did this episode. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm already doing it. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's kind of one of the things, is a lot of this stuff is kind of self-evident. But it's just a matter of kind of like putting it together in a thoughtful way that ends up, reprogramming your mind to deliver the best person that you can be. Let me share my screen, and I'm going to actually share a little bit of my strengths. But this is kind of this is my strength assessment from the TIA group there that I had the link to. But these are my top strengths.
I thought it was VIA, not TIA.
It might be. If I screwed it up, my bad. But with that, I've got like the symbols that kind of go with it, and then the music that goes with it. So like for gratitude, I've got Bob Marley's One Love. As soon as I think of that, it's just like, oh yeah, that's just I love that.
I'm really enjoying all of the music. I'm going through and I'm like, yeah, I like Pachelbel. I love Bob Marley, like all of this, Tupac, Macklemore. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one for humor. But then here's these mantras, and I just with this one I've got just the mantras that the VIA people have put together. But if I didn't like that, I would probably change it. And there's a lot more, obviously, but this is just like one example of how that might play out.
What are the VI people? What does it stand for?
They've put together a strength assessment that you can a free strength assessment that you can use that'll give you like.
That's the link you gave, right? Last show.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, I got it now. Yeah.
And so it'll kind of give you take the quiz, and then it gives you like an assessment of like what are your top 5 strengths. And this is not to say that like at the bottom of your 24 out of the 24 strengths that they're identifying, that doesn't mean that those lower ones are weaknesses. They're all strengths. For all people. It's just like the ones that are most prominent for you. But, with that said, so what I'm suggesting here is just like a 1-minute creation of this kind of idea of maybe just deciding to use the tools that you have, not necessarily even not necessarily even identifying what the tools are, but just maybe it's just that idea that I'm going to use my tools today. What are they going to be for today?
You keep saying it's only going to take 1 minute, though. I don't see it taking only 1 minute.
Well, the setup is going to take longer than 1 minute. Setting all this up so that when you're in that moment and you're like, I need to work on this today. You go to that list, you find that strength, you find all the things that are associated with it because you've already put in the work and the effort, and then you do 1 minute meditation exercise on those things, I think.
How I see it is
that correct?
Yeah, the thing that I would like is to make it as easy as possible. There's a book called The 1 Minute Manager, that is maybe the basis for this kind of thing, is that if you could just do 1 minute, that you would improve yourself, and then see how that affects, so like if you wanted to do 10 minutes or you wanted to do 20 minutes of meditation or something like that, the idea is just to do something simple, like touch your nose, that is essentially something that like you can ask yourself to do. But if it's really simple, if it's like 1 minute, but if you then like are able to kind of gauge and create the metric where you start to see, that 1 minute is really helping me out. Maybe I should do 2 minutes, or maybe I should do the 10-minute thing.
I knew it was a trick. This is what I was getting at. You're telling me to do something for 1 minute. It's not going to end up being 1 minute, is it?
Not unless you want
again,
it to be. That's the thing.
It's like if it's valuable to you, then you're going to probably do more.
Yeah, it's all good.
I feel like the goal of it is to really to understand. It's not about the 1 minute, but it's about your life, right? It's about every moment. So how I understand it is that, what are the tools that we have been given in this life? It's our physicality, it's our body, which comes with all the physical abilities, the strength, what we can do with our body, and that's a lot in itself already. We can perceive, we can listen, we can hear, all those physical qualities that we have, then we have been given another tool, which is our emotions. You know, how can we use our emotions and not being used? And that's the title of the show again. You know, we're not, you know, are you the tool or are you using your tools? You know, so don't let your emotions or your tools use you, but you are here to drive. You know, you're the driver. So drive the car that you've been given. Drive, you know, use the tools. Take up the hammer and use it, and don't make the hammer use you.
Right.
And then that, you know, we have our intellect also, which is what really sets us apart from, as far as I can perceive, the other living beings in, you know, in these realms, which is, you know, when it's properly used, it's like, wow, it's like amazing. How far can we go with our intellect? I mean, there's no shortage of examples of individuals who have gone, you know, beyond any limitations that we would have perceived before using the intellect. And then we have our, you know, like our spiritual side, our spiritual being, which is really underlying everything that there is. So I feel that, you know, the tools that we're discussing right now, these are like, you know, from the stone to the different techniques to the questions to bringing us in the resonance and that vibe, this is all just really, these are tools in order for us to gain the ability to use properly the tools that we have been given. And the end of the goal is not to be dependent on, you know, like a technique or a question or a stone or whatever reminders that you have, but it's the recognition that is like, wow, you know, like, okay, I'm using the stone, I'm using this, I'm using that, and it's great and it has much value. But eventually to come to the realization that, you know, we're making we can make those shifts without being dependent on any kind of tool. You know, we can
Right.
make that shift without even depending on our body, on our emotions, on stones, on a technique, on a book, or on a leader, but we can be our own guide and guide ourselves from within.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are just aids to, you know, to create those highways of synapses in our mind that are really the behaviors that really benefit us the most, and potentially benefit everybody else as well. I, I I I tend to believe that most people have somewhere between, you know, 500 to 1,000 things, skills or abilities that could be very valuable to themselves and to other people. And the fact that most people are limiting themselves to like a couple of those things that somebody, you know, gives them fiat currency for, that they lose sight of all that other stuff that's really valuable. And all those things are things that can deliver, you know, a better quality of life for themselves and other people. But because we're so trained into chasing the fiat currency around, we never develop any of those 500 to 1,000 other skills. And so, like, you know, like I at the moment here, I've got like 45 skills or tools that I would utilize.
Are you
But
going to write
I
a
tend
book
to,
about those tools? 45 tools is too much for an episode.
yeah.
We need a book or
Well,
a
I'm just saying
course.
is that I'm somewhere in that range, you know. So I'm just really starting to just to like chip off the top of my of like what is my total potential, and you know I got a long way to go. And I
So,
think that's the thing that
oh,
everybody
sorry.
else has as well. But go ahead.
All of this is reminding of a great resource that I found a couple of months ago called, I put it in the Discord chat, but it's chakraanatomy.com. And I just pulled up the root chakra part because the mantras that you had reminded me of this site. It provides you with mantras for every single chakra. And even if you don't believe in like the chakras or you don't know much about them, it's worth like finding out what it has to do with, because it'll provide you with strengths and weaknesses that have to do with different chakras and emotional states, um, colors, symbols, stones, incense, just smells in general, flowers, like different things that you can use to remind yourself that, or you can use to surround yourself when you're feeling the lack of that strength, when you're like, I know that I should have this, but I'm feeling really low on it today. It was a great resource for me to find because I'm not good at making mantras. When a couple of clients have told me this before, and I also have this problem. When I try to create a mantra, it twists itself into something that's awful. Or like this other voice will come into my head and it'll like repeat the mantra in a really twisted way.
Mm-hmm.
So picking these mantras from other places, it kind of helps me reinforce that, like, I can't twist these. They're not exactly my words. They're things that I'm training myself. So I don't know. It was helpful to me because it was like a place I could go and browse to find these strengths and be able to recognize them in myself, because I'm not able just to think of them and be like, you know what, I'm really good at this, and I'm really good at this. Like, look at me before the show. I still had to have you ask me the questions before I was like, what strengths am I supposed to be, like, what strengths do I have? I don't know. And then you start asking me questions like, when, you know, are you fearless? What do you do with ease? And I'm like, oh, I can answer those questions.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, speaking to what you said about, you know, essentially the thing is every person is unique, and so like this isn't a like one size fits all. Okay, everybody create a spreadsheet with all your tools on it and your symbols and your songs and all that kind of
In your
stuff.
sense and your taste and your sounds and your stones and
Yeah. So yeah, but that's different things for different people. Maybe smells are what, you know, really, and honestly, smells are one of the things that really do key your mind into like super heavy duty. I think you mentioned this one time, Will.
Smell is the strongest memory trigger.
Yeah.
It will trigger memories. It's the strongest trigger for them.
Yeah. So that could be kind of an anchor that could be really powerful for some people when it comes to like, if they could like categorize some smells that relate to some other things, that could be really powerful for somebody to like, okay, this is what I want. This is the things that I need to remember today, or these are the things that are really powerful for me. But that's kind of the thing, is why I work with people on an individual basis, is because it's uniquely them that I want to, you know, help them bring out. I really want them to feel like super powerful, and I want that to be, you know, the thing that's uniquely them. And it's, you know, because then it's just really easy for them once they kind of see that, to just, you know, just enjoy their life and be a powerful person. And let's see, I'll share my screen again and just remind and use this as a reminder of these things here. So like, you know, we covered this in the last one, but you know, again, I'm just going to kind of refer to these things because all these things are areas that, like, once you start touching on these things start to become, you know, they start to bring themselves forward without even really, you know, like we talked about choosing one of these things, but all of these things actually start to just kind of appear into your existence, and you start to become much more confident, and you start to have more energy, and you have that ability to focus more, and you know, all this stuff is there. And let's see, I'll go back a couple here. You know, these things that you control, that people control in themselves, are those things that uh, you know, are controllable. And so these are like the dials on your control panel that you can just twist them in. And, you know, your personality can be, you know, can be one way one day and another way another day. And that's for you to like dial it in and say, okay, I'm going to be, you know, just a hardcore mean SOB today, because that's what I need to be. And I can dial that in and I can go to town on it, you know, and I can even have fun doing that. And then the next day I can be the nicest guy.
Dennis is looking at you funny, like, no, I couldn't be a mean SOB. It's not my nature. Of course, me, on the other hand, I could totally be a mean SOB, but you know.
Well, you know, you're familiar with NLP, and what is it? Erickson is the guy that was like the master of that.
I
But
think
what
so, yeah.
he would do is kind of establish rapport with the other person. And if the other person came in and he was like, I don't blah, 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 and then he would just mirror that. Well, this is what you need. Shut up and sit down. And then they'd be like,
And it
oh,
would
yeah,
work.
okay. And he was a master at doing that. And the thing was, is there would be people that had problems for years. They'd seen therapists and they'd gone to all these other things. They'd see him 10 minutes later, they'd be out and it'd be fixed.
Just like
So
that Bob
there's
Newhart
definitely
thing.
something to all those things.
The $5 for 5 minutes therapy from Bob Newhart. It's like a thing on YouTube. It's really
I'll have
funny.
to check that one out because I guess
It's just
that one
totally up
escapes
your
me.
alley.
All right.
So we have some comments from the audience.
Okay, great.
Dina Dean said she
Deanna.
didn't tune in, or Deanna Dean said she didn't tune in, but we have an awesome title. It made her giggle. And hoping that we are well, or you are well. So she is a mutual friend with Agnieszka, so I'm assuming she meant you.
She probably means everybody, the whole world.
Well,
Much appreciated.
Yes.
Well, Dennis, what are you thinking at this point? Are we at this point? I've pretty much covered all the things I want to cover. I don't have anything else.
I want like a to-do list. I want to say, okay, wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, sit down in your pajamas. Like I want instructions, like an instruction manual to life. I don't want to develop it myself. I want somebody to just hand it to me, make it easy, you know?
Well, it's super easy. All you have to do is, like book a private session with Michael and you'll totally figure it out with him.
I have had a private session with Michael this morning. So, And Deanna said she didn't tune in, but now she's replying, so she's listening.
Sweet. Well, I don't know. Do you want to go into that, Agnieszka, a little bit about what we talked about earlier today?
I have my notes right here. But mostly I think that what I'm interested in, and I know that I'm just teasing, I have to figure it out for myself. The Systems Check Superpowers On is an amazing tool. We talked about it the other day, Monday. But everybody has to put in their own work, and that's the most troublesome thing, because you actually have to do something, right, to succeed. You can't just sit there in your couch, watch Netflix, and wait for success to fall onto you, like when the roof collapses or something.
Yeah.
I think the point of that is like, you can pay someone to give you the instructions, and that's perfectly fine. If that's what you need, go do it. If you have the money and you have the means, go spend it on taking care of yourself. But what you really are going to be paying with is your time and attention. You have to take their advice. You have to do what they say, and you have to trust them.
I feel that what we're really about, what Raising Excellence is about, is exactly that. It is not to bring something about in people, in listeners, in others that might tune in, that is not already there. But, it's really to engage those people who are already kind of feeling it, who know, okay, there's a move, there's something to do. And so it is not to motivate people, because, how they say, who feels it knows it. It's like people that can hear us, they're already open. So there's an opening already. And if it's, so they feel the value is there. So I feel my role, whether it's as a trainer, as a coach, even as a father, as a husband, as a friend, it is not to force anybody or to push my opinion on somebody, but it's also to find out, where is the other person, like at what stage are they in, and how can I position myself so they are able to hear me. And so that's really what we're doing right here. We are on an ongoing basis, like fine-tuning ourselves and are learning and are positioning ourselves also in a way that, hopefully as many as possible can relate to what we're saying and can get value and benefit out of that. And but people will have to be, people have to be hungry. That's what I always told my students as well. Like, if you come and sit on a table, I'm happy to share the little food that I have and I put on your plate. And I fill the plate, but you have to be hungry. We're not here to force feed or to push it down your throat, but we're providing some food here. And if you're hungry, come sit and eat with us and enjoy. And then all together, we fill our bellies and we move along. And then I feel so it's a highly individual task also to to figure out where everybody is. And it's very much appreciated that we're getting the feedback. Every show there's people giving feedback, asking questions, and that's something also that helps us tremendously.
Okay, you're getting off topic. I still want to know what I do tomorrow morning when I wake up. Okay, so so Michael.
That was beautiful, Dennis.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
But no, okay, because we only have a few of 20 minutes left, but still, what, like, I want to make sure, okay, so here's what I want to know. Mike, you have spent like what, 10 or 15 years developing this system, right? This systems check
Probably more than
superpowers
that,
on.
like 30 years or so.
30 years.
from my-
So, what I would like to know is, in your world, how do you do it step by step? So, you wake up in the morning, you rub your eyes, you're like, oh, okay, I'm up. And then what happens? Do you go
Well,
out and
even
swim?
me, I'm not I'm not somebody like I'm kind of like you in a lot of ways, Agnieszka. I don't want to live by rules. I don't want to, I don't want to kind of keep myself in any particular thing. I want to be like every day. I want it to be an adventure, and I want to do things differently. But in a lot of cases, there is an acceptance that there are things that you have to do each day. You have to eat. You have to wash yourself. You got to do. There's things that you got to do, and those are the things that you just kind of tie into this stuff. But like what you were saying earlier today when we were talking is that you had some fears about like being like boxed in and stuff like that, and that's not what we want. We want to be we want to look at work as being our life's work, something that we really value and that we deliver, and it's like something that just absolutely blows people away because we made a difference, and so that's kind of the way I want to that's the way I approach my life and the work that I do. And so I feel like as I'm communicating with my conscious, my subconscious mind are communicating, every day is a little bit different. So like if like if I'm excited about something and I want to work till 4 a.m. in the morning because I'm excited about it, that's what I do. And then I might get up at 9 o'clock in the morning that day, whereas normally I might get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I go out and I watch the sunrise come up, because that's something that's exciting to me, and I've got a cool view, so it makes it even better. But um, it could be different every day. But like for me, like okay, like the push up thing for me, push-ups were always kind of a pain in the butt, and it reminded me of being in the army, and I hated being in the army. So the push-ups were kind of a difficult thing. But when I think about doing push-up, like the energy that I get with that blood pumping in my body and like rejuvenating everything, if I jump out of bed and I do like knock out 20 push-ups, to me that's like, okay, I've already kind of set myself up for I'm going to have a great day today, you know, and it could be just that simple, and maybe another day it's just something where I get out of bed and I'm journaling, and I think about, I'm kind of writing down my dreams and stuff like that, and then maybe what I'm going to do for the day. And then I think about, oh, self-care. What is my self-care stuff going to be for today? What's, and I might just do that 1 minute review of what's going on with me, and it might be, you know I, I need to express myself better. My throat chakra is tying up or something, it's something like that. And then I just write that down, so again, it's like that. It's like facilitating the communication between
The parts
the
inside your
different
head.
parts of me. And I I say subconscious mind, but it might be my spirit, it might be my soul. I don't know. It's that something else that's inside of me that I'm communicating with, that 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 gives me that boost. And then it's that friendly thing, that like I'm becoming my own best friend kind of thing, that also comes to mind when I'm doing this kind of stuff. And shit, that's a great way to start the day, you know.
What I can see coming out of this, or what, like from the last show, that was really like, wow, this is like a book. This is several books. This is like a course. This is like a lead magnet. This is a website. This is all of that. So I think what we are really getting is the deal at the end is the big thing. You have been doing that for so many years, so it became who you are already. So what they can also see is like, a step-by-step guide, like a small entry-level thing, and then that building up to what where you led us, where you're leading us right now, which is already the full-blown thing, where you're not really bound again to like a static form and a set format, but where you can find freedom within that technique, within that approach and that strategy that you're sharing with us. So I'm really looking forward to all the materials that you'll be pushing out soon. Because it's
Yeah.
an amazing thing. Like
Especially,
I'm enjoying this.
he's doing the coaching thing with me, and now we're developing a whole course with coaching and program to brainwash people to be more happy with what their lives are. There's no name yet, but that's my
We're not
take on it.
brainwashing.
No,
We're unbrainwashing. What's the term for that?
Deprogramming.
that's
Deprogramming.
right.
We don't brainwash people here. We're trying to help that.
Nice.
Well, maybe we could be washing a little bit of that dirt off. I don't know. There's a lot of dirt on in our minds that probably would need to get washed off.
This is
But-
true.
More like calcification. I would consider it more like, like in a kettle when you boil water and the water is not like the pure water, but it has a lot of minerals and stuff. You get
You're
the
putting vinegar in the kettle.
calcification. Yeah, so you're the vinegar, Mike.
Oh, lovely. That's one way I can really boost my day and think about myself as vinegar.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
vinegar
cleans
is
things, but it smells. Nobody wants to be
vinegar is
associated with
something
that.
I always have in the house. More than one. I probably have 7 different kinds of vinegar in my house at all times. And when
Try
Yeah.
put it
one,
put it in a kettle under the open sky, and even chemtrails will dissolve.
Ooh.
There's all kinds of positives.
see, so it's not a bad thing to be called vinegar. Especially when you're vinegar for the mind, the natural and non-toxic
Especially with the
cleanser,
raw apple cider vinegar one, the one in the matter.
the one that Chris makes under his sink. He told me about it.
Well,
Anyway,
we've,
off
we've still
topic.
actually got some time, and I can't believe we've got through all this stuff and we still have time left. But do we want to talk a little bit more about maybe developing the tools or identifying tools or that kind of stuff?
Well-
I'm willing to go in a bunch of different directions, whatever.
There was a
you
few
think we-
questions we didn't go into that I saw on the slide from the last show.
Which is
There was the one, look into your past successes and failures. Who are the people you admire, and what about them do you admire? That was not so easy for me to answer.
Yeah, we can do some of that stuff. Do you guys want to talk about the people that you admire or the past successes or failures? And maybe some
it's
of the skills?
interesting because when I was in coaching school and I was getting my coaching certificate, that was something that we used. It was a combination of the people that you admire and the things that really irk you in the world. And when you looked at those two facts together, you could see what your job the change that you want to be in the world would be. Like what skills. Because usually the people, when you admire somebody, that what that person has, it's already in you. Because if it's totally foreign, you wouldn't admire it. You would just not notice it at all. So the skill's already in you and you're admiring it, right?
Yeah.
I had difficulties, like, like I think I associate or used to associate it with like idolizing people, and like I find it difficult because, if I would look very close, then you obviously you find fault and you find things that you don't like. So I would just I wouldn't think of 1 or 2 or 3 persons per se that are like, okay, I want to be like him or like her, but it's more traits or skills or like ways that I would admire in somebody, but it's not like I
Yeah,
wouldn't-
like
it
if you
would be
go
just a thing.
swimming, you want to be like me because I don't sink.
Nice. That's a good one. Well, I was thinking like the Jedi in the Star Wars thing. Like, okay, what are the things that they have that you admire that and so like for me that's always like that Jedi mind trick thing, where the guy essentially just tells the people what they want, what he wants them to think, and that's what they think. And then he just moves along, and so
That's
like
the prism
that might be.
thing. The Jedi mind trick, it's the what I was talking at the beginning of the show, where I take the person's idea and I sort of twist it to the other thing. Like,
Mhm.
when in Star Wars, when he goes, these are not the droids, right? And
Yes.
so he basically shifts them. These are not the droids. These are other droids. You're looking for other droids, right? So the people are like, oh, okay, yeah, not the droids. That's how it
You can
works.
use that like when the cops pull you over and you say, "Oh, I was just looking for a gas station. You know where a gas station is?" You know, and then the cop would be like, "What? You're asking me about gas station? Yeah, there's a gas station right over there. All right, thanks a lot. I'll see you later."
That could work, although I don't know, but that could work. There's a chance.
I've seen there's a guy on video that's done it, so it does work.
There's this guy from England, that magician that kind of he does those tricks supposedly live where I don't know, like people give him all kind of things and winning the lottery and all kind of something. I forgot his name, but it's really amazing. I'm gonna look up the name again. But
Nice.
those kind of mind
The
tricks
one
seem to
whenever I hear magician, I think of David, but I don't know what the last name is. David something. But
Copperfield.
yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, but he's American, ain't he?
I'm not even sure. I think so. Yeah.
I know, but I have seen the British magician who is really magical. He can have a penny in his hand and have a bottle, and he does this, and the penny goes into the bottle somehow, and you can't get it out, and nobody knows how he does it. Because
Yeah,
there
that's
is
the one
no
you
way to
said.
put the penny in the bottle, but he gets it into the bottle. In one show, I saw him put a cell phone inside a bottle. Like, oh, are you finished with that drink? Can I hold your cell phone? Oh, here's your cell phone inside the bottle.
I remember the one where he goes to like a betting thing, like with horse racing, and like he talks the girl into giving him the win, like the big money, and like it's supposedly a real life thing.
Hmm.
Or
Anyway,
another
we're
one where he
totally
guesses
off
the bullets.
topic. It's totally my fault, I'm sure. Audience, do you have any magicians you listen to?
Well, we were talking about Jedi mind tricks and
Well, we are
essentially how
supposed to
that
be stepping into our own magic, embracing
yes,
ourselves. So the whole point in doing this systems check superpowers on is to really tune into our own powers and really grasp. Like it's almost like a lot of us, and myself included, are like our power is somewhere here and we're just we're almost getting it, but we can't really sink our feet. Like it's almost like cotton, our fingers go through it and they don't go in. And so how can we grasp more of our power, embrace more of our power, embody more of our power, stand in more of our power, right? And so
yeah,
one way to do it is to do systems check every morning and really focus on your strengths, your values. What was that you're talking about this morning? Strength via strength test. The second thing was value sort for today. Your values are different depending on the project you're working on, mood you're in, focus you have. So different values, right? Value sort. And I mean, we covered a lot of these things back in January, but I think it's a great reminder.
yeah,
And
yeah.
of the things I want to conquer this year.
Well, those are definitely goals, but I think that a lot of things, like they're not so simple as just a particular strength or something like that. They could be something that's extremely unique. That it could just be like you make a beautiful spaghetti or something, and that could be truly transformational in the right moment. So like having
Like if
that
you have
kind of
really
just,
hungry people.
yeah, or like the guy that's going to that's going to fund the neighborhood project is like he's here for dinner, and like you bring him the super powered spaghetti, and that's like, oh hell yeah, I'm here. I'm here forever now because I love spaghetti.
Nice. Yeah.
But so like but that's the thing is like we don't really have that ability, or like in a lot of ways we have not been taught the ability to understand what our strengths are, understand what our superpowers are, then be able to communicate them. And like the fact that, like, we just talked about certain things today that I didn't know all these things about the rocks and some of the answers you guys gave. But now that I know those things are locked in my head forever. And when something comes along, I'm gonna, that situation might occur, and I say, Agnieszka, get your rock out. It's time to deliver the goods. And the
And
fact
it's,
that I know
it's
that,
even worse than that, because it's not just that people weren't taught these things in school. People might have an innate knowledge in it, and it was basically dismantled in the school system. So we might have
yes,
had the way, like as a small child, as a 4-year-old, I used to grab rocks and I used to draw little symbols on them and try to remember things with the rocks and stuff like that. So I had some innate knowledge on how to create a memory bank inside an object, right? But I didn't, the school said it was nonsense. Why would you do that? That sounds like witchcraft. So, and then I was
Well,
just doing NLP.
let's take that back to a totally normal thing that almost every single child goes through. We all have comfort items as children.
I was going to say painting with poop on the walls.
That too, but not even remotely related to this conversation.
Okay. I don't know. You said
That's
the
using a
common
tool
thing
too.
every small child does.
That is
And
using a tool. But like, we all have comfort items as children. We learned that that item reminds us of how to be comfortable, how to be calm. And for me, this was at the time, I'm sure that they changed, but at the time that I remember, it was a deer Beanie Baby that I wanted to take to school with me. And I used to sneak it in my backpack. And then one day my sister found it at the bus stop, and she thought that she was going to get in trouble for me taking it to school. So she took it out of my backpack and she stuffed it in the mailbox. And I cried the entire day because my comfort item, my Beanie Baby, I had like developed this attachment to it, was stuck in a cold mailbox all day. I was just really upset, and it made me super upset, and I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel safe. I was just super anxious until I got home and I saw the deer in the mailbox, and I picked her back up, and I was like, okay, everything's calm now. We're good. And just went back about my day. But that reminded me, like, we all used to do that as children. We store a memory of comfort in an item. And then when we go to school, we're told we can't take that item. That's babyish. That's childish. That's not appropriate for your age.
It's a powerful metaphor, like of overcoming the attachment to objects or to anything in the outside world, to give us calm and to find peace and to be centered.
yeah. I think I think Wayne Dyer or one of the other guy mentions that we are our environment. So it's not just us.
Bruce
We're
Lipton.
also all intertwined with all that.
Bruce Lipton talks about the
Bruce Lipton.
petri dish and all that. Which petri dish are you? What are you cultivating inside you and all that?
Yeah.
It sounded like him.
But there's a lot of interaction that goes on between us and all the things around us. So the inanimate objects can also be very powerful for us. And like for me, I sit up on the side of a mountain overlooking the Pacific Ocean, and to me that's like that's my safe spot. That's my power spot. And I just
wait, overlooking the
difference.
Pacific Ocean. That's the same ocean that's out here, out the window.
Yes.
That's cool. We could touch the same water.
Nice. Yeah.
And essentially, it's the same ocean in Germany too, because it all connects.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there might be some kind of internet thing that we could develop. If we could just touch the water.
Waternet.
The information could.
We'll send a wave splashing into Dennis's face. He'll be standing there in Germany on the beach, touching the water, trying to get the message, and suddenly the water will go. Pew! That'd be nice.
We have a special kind of beach in Germany in the north. It's called Wattmeer. The Wattsee. I don't even know how to call it in English, but it's like the difference in the tide is so huge that you can't see the sea when the tide is low, and when the tide is high, then you stand in the water. But it's amazing. It goes beyond the horizon. You just see sand, and when it comes back, right there it is. But it's a little further north from where I am.
Yes, absolutely. There's a cool beach on Vancouver Island that's you can walk for a mile and the water is up to your knees only. Anyway, it's like that too. I was reminded. Never mind.
I was just
It's
at
using the
beach.
tools that were given
Tools.
to us. The tools of our 2 legs. Go to amazing places. Sometimes things are simple like that.
And I got my rock
Amen.
now.
All right. Well, let me mute for a second. I got somebody here, and you guys carry on.
All right, we'll entertain for you. It's almost the end of
I
the
also got
show.
my rock.
Oh yeah, but Mike's the one who's owner of the show, so we can't end it. But we can tell you more jokes or more stories about the beach. You know, the beach here is cool. Willow has her rock. Hey, your rock is metallic like mine. Is that a hematite? A metallic hematite or something? Or a magnetite of some sort?
So I think it is hematite, but I'm not the best at memorizing all the names of the rocks yet. I memorized my favorite ones. This one, I know its properties. It's supposed to promote study. So whenever I am studying or I'm like working on something and I really have to focus like intellectually, I'm absorbing information, I'll set it on my desk. And it seems to kind of help. And actually, like holding it, it's got kind of a weight to it that reminds me of like responsibility. Like there's a weight to this, but it's nice. It's pleasant. You know, it's something that I feel like I can carry. The one I think you're holding is this.
Yes. Pyrite, right?
I have tons of stones.
Yes.
Yes, I believe so. Actually, Mike, I just we had a house guest, Eric McCool, and because he sells stones, he stopped by and he stayed for a couple days, and he gave me a couple of wonderful stones. I'm gonna pull out the lapis lazuli he gave me.
Yeah, he's a talented guy.
Look at that. I
Isn't
love
it
lapis.
beautiful?
That's my favorite stone right there.
Yeah. Didn't we give you the lapis?
I think it was sodalite in the necklace.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got tons of rocks, and they all have different meanings. So, and sometimes like on different days, depending on what, like I have a blue kyanite that actually I put a metal band around and then looped it with a necklace, and I kept it at my throat chakra. Especially when I feel like I need like extra help communicating that day, where I just need to piece my words together. But sadly, it keeps falling out of the thing.
Be careful with kyanite, because kyanite can take you out of your body, and you already have an ability to like spend a lot of time in your mental realms. So use it for meditation.
Maybe that's why I like it.
But use it sparingly. Yes, my mother's like you, and she likes it too. So use it sparingly.
I try not to use it for like self-comfort.
Anyway,
like,
this is not a rock show.
We should do a rock show.
We could do a rock show.
We should call it rock show.
Show of all the rocks and talk about their properties. Dennis?
There's a great book called Space Clearing from Karen Kingston.
I believe I just bought that like a month ago.
Oh, nice. It's really cool. She talks about rocks a little bit as well. I have them in a water jar, in the same water jar that I drink from, actually. We have a bunch of rocks. But she mentions at one part that in her work, like clearing spaces, houses, and so on, she doesn't really like to put them together. She says because the stones have different frequencies, so actually they don't like to be put together like in in the same place, but you have them in specific spots and you use them, you take them out, one at a time when you need them, but you don't really want to put them together. But that's just what I read from her books.
I have heard numerous things like some of them do not like to be put together, and you kind of know, like, it's this strange feeling. It's just like you look at them and you're like, that needs to not be there.
Yeah, I have them all over the house.
Looks wrong.
Feels wrong.
I haven't figured out. I don't like to separate them too much because I have a tendency to lose things. So I haven't gotten any like negative feedback from them all being in the same ones, but I keep the ones that are easily broken. I keep those separate, and I keep some of the metal ones separate because I know that they can react. Also, when you said you had rocks in your water bottle, my first reaction was, that's freaking cool. And my second reaction was, what stones? Because like stuff like lapis, if you put it in water, is toxic.
Yes.
So be careful what you're putting in.
I have
They have been there for a few years, so can't be too bad.
Okay, so you're good.
I have shungite at the
Copper?
bottom of my copper cup.
Yeah,
a little
that's great. I
piece
have
of
some other too.
shungite. Shungite is supposed to be great for water. I don't know, but I like it, so I'm keep drinking out
So
of
is
it.
copper.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of I have a pendulum that I carry around in my purse that's made out of copper, and then a couple of copper pieces that I keep in my stone stuff as well.
There's a German that actually he developed a copper plow for plowing. I think it's Schauberger, but it like that copper restores the nutrients in the soil.
That'd be cool.
You know,
Yeah.
as far
Schauberger is
as
from Austria. He
Schauberger,
did some, yeah, Schauberger. He did some amazing stuff. Water,
yes,
revitalizing water, whirling water. There's like now you can even get shower heads like that whirl water and that have specific stones built in, or that you know like some filters. It's kind of like filters, but they run by certain stones, and then they revitalize the water that comes into your house. And
yeah,
he researched. He's a tremendous researcher that he initially he built slides to take for like that was like when they were how you call it when they cut down trees in the Alps
logging,
for logging, yeah.
yeah,
And he built the slides in a way that they could transport the logs down the mountainsides, and they would not stop. They would not. So just by their own I
Wait.
guess by the whirls and by the weights that he created in
Gravity.
those rabbits.
it was even more interesting because it was like the temperature of the water was what actually allowed the big logs to float, whereas if the water got too warm, the log would get caught in the thing. But he knew how to do that, so like it's
That's cool.
it's pretty
Eventually,
Let
amazing
me write
stuff.
that down.
he would like seize those
I'm sure
operations.
Dennis will have to send it to you because it's Schlauberger, so who
No,
knows
Schau,
how.
Schau.
Yeah,
Schau.
I'm not
Not
spelling.
Schlau.
I'm not spelling that. Just type that out and send it to me, please.
I've got a great documentary on him. I'll send you that too. But yeah, it's some good stuff. All right. Well, we've covered a lot of areas here, man. We went from rocks
Get
to
your
grains to Schauberger and water and copper and
Well,
everything else.
that's how raising excellence works. Everything across the board.
Amen.
Well, it's all interconnected. This is something they took out of public schooling systems. Everything is interconnected. You do science and math and reading and writing and all of this stuff together. Why should our show be any different?
Are you sure? I thought there had to be like a bell ringing in between, and you can just focus 45
Like a
minutes on the
plexiglass
subject.
shield, right? Between the subjects.
Yes.
Don't forget
That's
your muzzle.
actually literally.
Yes.
Yeah, the muzzle, the shield, and the red line,
Yes.
and the
No.
circle. Where you have to
Censored,
play.
censored. You see, so many jokes I have to censor out of my head. Mike, close out the show.
All righty. So with that said, do we know what we're going to be doing next week, or is it going to
We
be
haven't
another...
decided yet, I don't think.
Okay. Well,
We
we did
haven't
pretty good this
decided.
go round, so maybe we'll do some other magic.
I'll be pushing rocks.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
thinking maybe we should do the rock show. We have a lot of rocks and yeah, the properties are really cool. So maybe we'll do
I
a
live
week
on
on
I live on a
rocks.
quartz mountain myself, and that's
So
that's one of the
awesome.
reasons that I love it so much. But in any case, 7:05 Eastern time,
Monday.
Mondays and Wednesdays.
We'll be back. Yeah. And
We have a
it'll be
website.
uplifting and it'll be raising excellence and it'll be fun, whatever it is. So just join us and we'll try to be more silly because you guys like that.
Yeah, and join us then. So thanks so much.
Thanks for listening.
Appreciate your time and attention.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Thank you
outro.
very
I have
much.
to play the outro, right? Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Ciao. Auf Wiedersehen. Bis bald. Adios.